Well, hello and welcome everybody to another fun show from BEARSKIFILM. We're joining you here on this terrible Monday, uh, day after what is this? 12 hours after, not even 12, right? Something like that. After the Bears got beat by the Houston Texans, and man, listen, I I got a lot to say, right? And it's funny because bring myself back to last year, week two against Tampa Bay. That ended in a bad way, and I had a lot to say that show too. Here we are a year later in week two, and man, I'm right there. So listen, I'm gonna get the very little good, I guess, out first because there's always both sides. Um, I thought Caleb starting 7 for 7 was a positive, although his first incompletion came on a third down. Still, 7 for 7 is better than what we saw in week one. Those jitters I thought kind of went away. Passes were a little bit more on target. Other thing is, I thought that at minimum we put ourselves in position to win the game at the very end. Minute and a half left. You're down 6. Now here's the thing, David.
Can I just really quickly add on to Caleb?
Yeah.
He might be on the bottom of my concern list.
Oh, he is.
So just to speak to that, even if he has a shaky game right now, he's probably still the best quarterback I've seen in 25 years.
Of course. And I mean, that's why I said I'm going over good things.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. The Bears put themselves in a position at the end of the game where you're down 6 points and you have a minute and a half. If that's Aaron Rodgers, that's an opportunity to win the game. If that's Patrick Mahomes, it's an opportunity to win the game. If that's any of these top-tier quarterbacks, a minute and a half and you're down 6, you need a touchdown drive, you can go win that game. You don't usually put a quarterback in that position in his second game in the NFL. However, we did wind up in that position. Caleb did not come through. And so it's like, that's going to be one of those things, in my opinion, that he's going to have to check off the list at some point. The sooner the better. I don't expect him to do it. However, at least the team put him in position to win. Now, dude, I got so much going on because we kept saying it. This is not about the statistical record this year for us. It's not. At no point did I really expect to win this game last night. I didn't. So I'm not upset by any means that we came away with a loss. What I am upset about is that you got your rookie quarterback sacked 7 times. What I am upset about is that you're running Nate Davis out there still. Oh, here's the other positive. You didn't let Velus Jones Jr. touch the ball. Okay, so maybe you learned a little bit of something, right? Just a little bit of something. But my goodness.
Even with that, though, don't you feel like they probably wanted to give Velus Jones the ball a little bit? They wanted to just a little bit.
He might just save us if he takes this kick return. He takes it back house. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Dude. So here's the thing. To all the people out there, and we've been very respectful, very mild. We've been the guys to sit here and tell you, hey, we're just 2 guys with an opinion. We're not pretending we're trying to be smarter than everybody else. We're not pretending we're trying to be smarter than the guys at Hell's Hall. But, man, with just 2 guys with an opinion, it seems so obvious to us where it can't. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. I opened up a show a couple weeks ago. First line was, fuck Nate Davis. What did you think was going to happen? You think like I said, if he plays at a Pro Bowl level this year, I'll eat my words and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt moving forward, right? But, man, Thai and Spy, how's it going? Going good, but I've definitely had better Bears fandom weeks than this one is going to be, man. Dude, so like I said, what did you think was going to happen? The guy didn't practice. Of course he's going to run out there and suck. And then you have players like Tevin Jenkins saying, well, at the end of the day, the calls come in and we execute them, and some stuff's just beyond us.
To build on that real quick, he's the third player in the last day to say the exact same thing.
Okay.
If you haven't seen that, it's, well, we're running the plays that are called for us. And maybe this is, sorry, just to kind of piggyback on that, maybe this is, I feel like they're almost carrying over their frustrations with Luke Getsy into into this new scheme. But
And
there was a lot more leash on Luke Getsy from the players even. And continue. Sorry. But that's
no, go for it.
no, I just think and this is the benefit of having a young team, and you can rah it a little bit. But this is their second offensive coach, their second defensive coordinator. This is their what should have been their second head coach. These are guys that are going from young 22-year-olds, and the majority of your team is 22 and 23-year-olds, to now it's Jalen Johnson is a Pro Bowler and this and that. You're talking to grown men who are accountable and get called out, and the last thing you want to do is piss them off with no accountability on yourself. And that's where I think we're starting to – that's where the title of this, Eberflus lacks accountability, the coaching staff. But I think – and this goes back to Justin Fields. The guy accidentally slipped up and made his head and his offensive coordinator accountable, and he had to retract that statement. And you're going there the same route as I am, but I just wanted to fill in a few gaps where DJ Moore said it, Caleb Williams said it, Tevin Jenkins said it, where they just say, "Look, man, we're just running the plays that are called." So
Thai, it just takes you back to Justin Fields' first start where he got sacked 9 times. This is Caleb Williams' second start. He's getting sacked 7 times. I mean, 2 really bad challenges, not according to Eberflus. According to Eberflus, I don't know if you guys heard this. I mean, I put together a video on these press conferences. I'll come out with the Eberflus one after the show, and I'll let you guys hear it for yourself. He said, since I've gotten here, we've been really good at that. You're 2 for 7. You're 0-2 last night. So, no, you're not really good at challenges. And those are 2 obvious challenges. Now, the second one, I understand a little bit more due to the fact that the situation could have turned that game around. But at the same time, it's your second challenge then. You can't sit there and just waste it on something that's obvious just because it's a situation. Like, no, if you had 2 in your pocket and you wanted to throw one on the Kyler Gordon thing, fine, I get it. But you can't make that your last one. You can't. And, man, I've gone on different shows and I've heard all these different predictions, 11 wins, 12 wins. And I was just – I bit my lip this time. Last year I was saying, no, you guys are crazy. Because last year some people were even predicting them at 11 wins, and it wasn't happening. This year, I guess, maybe. But a 12-win team's a powerhouse. Like a powerhouse. David, we both had them at 9-8. At best, 10-7. But 9-8, I'm now looking at the product on the field, struggling to feel comfortable about predicting 9 wins. And so we're not going to be the guys that are homers and out there telling you it's okay. I saw I'm not trying to throw people under the bus, so I'm not going to say a name, but there's somebody that posted on Twitter, look, guys, look at our next 3 opponents. We could easily be 4-1. Are you kidding me? You are penciling in victories with this team now? When's the last time Eberflus won 3 games in a row? We're going to be 4-1 all of a sudden? Guys, get real. This is not a good football team. It's not a well-coached football team by any means. You know who's a well-coached football team? The Minnesota Vikings. Look at this. They draft a quarterback. They barely had a draft. They had 4 picks. One of them passed away, unfortunately. The other one's hurt for the year. What, you get 2 guys in the draft? You're starting Sam Darnold. You're 2-0. You know who's a good coach team? The Green Bay Packers. You lose your quarterback. You pick up another one through the trade, and you set up a game plan for him to be able to go in there with having no chemistry with the team and go in there and have a successful day. We got a number 1 overall draft pick, and I said it with Justin Fields. I'm going to say it with Caleb Williams. This looks like the way to destroy a quarterback, not the way to develop a quarterback. And I went on different shows, and people were predicting, 4,000, 5,000 yards was even thrown out there once at me. I was just like, you got to be kidding. Well, why? He's generational. Well, if he's the number 1 overall pick, then we should expect that out of him. No, there's still quarterback development that needs to take place. This kid's a 22-year-old kid. He's a rookie. He's a great prospect. He's a great talent. You can still, man, I wouldn't wish for 5 athletes like that to jump and beat the shit out of my worst enemy every week. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting this kid in there to go down. Like, man, I'll tell you, I said this to somebody too. If this goes south, and he's like, go south. Oh, it can't go south. No, this is going to work. This is going to work for sure. Nothing's handed to you on a damn silver platter in this league. You got to earn it all. We've mentioned how our concern was with the coaching. I'm no longer concerned. I'm fucking pissed, man. And listen, there's going to be some wins along the way. I'm going to have to retract that a little bit, just like I had to last year, because we put together a good end of the season. And then I'm going to sit there and go, I'm going to start making excuses. Oh, well, of course it doesn't make sense to get rid of a guy after just 2 years. He had a hot end to the year. Does he deserve to get fired? This and that. But the whole time we're sitting there just trying to make excuses. Meanwhile, we had to replace an offensive coordinator. We had to replace a defensive coordinator. I've asked people, who's the worst coaching staff in this division? It's us. It's easily us. And to sit there and have to think about it means you're just trying to fool yourself. You're trying to fool yourself. I wish they would have just pulled the plug all at once, gotten the new quarterback. I know people aren't high on Jim Harbaugh, or people have mixed feelings. Some people are, some people aren't. Guess what? His team's rushed for 400 yards in 2 games. Guess what he would have made sure to do? He would have made sure that he had an offensive line there to protect Caleb Williams. We talked about how in the draft, clearly the holes were offensive line, defensive line, specifically center, guard. And we go after a wide receiver 3 and a punter. And I'm not hating on the punter, man. And I'm not trying to hate on Odunze. From a team building perspective, though, you have holes. You could have dropped back, gotten a defensive lineman, and gotten a center. And then you're not sitting here starting these. This is the worst part. We did it exactly. I'm sorry, David. I'm rambling. I'm going on.
No, I love it. I need to match your energy when you're done.
Dude, we did this with Lucas Patrick. We went out and got Luke Getsy, and we went out and got Lucas Patrick. Why? Because he's familiar with the system.
It's such placating bullshit.
We're not going to beat you physically. We're going to beat you with the system, man.
Because we're smarter than everybody.
That's right. And what do we do this time? We went out. Listen, I thought Coleman Shelton was going to be like the just-in-case backup. And you're starting.
And he's getting his fucking ass pounded in 2 weeks. Oh my god,
dude. So, I'll tell you what. Offensive line problems, not easy to fix.
Impossible to fix mid-season.
Man,
week 3, you don't fix those.
It's going to be such a rough season. And I think because, the fan expectation for the wins for a playoff push or something is all there. Oh, man, get ready for this roller coaster ride, because I have a feeling we're going to be sitting there at the end of the year scratching our heads wondering, why did we not even interview Jim Harbaugh?
Man, how do I follow that up? I don't know how I'm supposed to follow you on that.
I mean, I'm going.
I mean, you can keep going.
I have, God, dude.
I mean, let's address it together. Like, I mean, no, I don't want to do like a 10-minute rant off kind of episode, but like we can address these things as they go. And oh man, dude, I don't know where to start. Starting at the top, Eberflus was never really. Oh man, dude. I mean, I remember vividly being in the car calling you the moment Eberflus got hired, and my first comment to you was, he's a nice guy from a nice team, and he coached a bunch of nice players, and that means absolutely fucking dick in the NFL. This is the episode where, for me and you, I think personally, I'm done giving a shit about kissing any Bears fans' asses. If this is the show that you want to hear just to like hype you up, go find a different channel because I don't really fucking care, honestly. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest as fuck about this team. And a lot of these things we've quietly talked about in person 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out. I think I brought this up to you week 2 of the preseason when we started talking about Micah Parsons. Yeah. Right. So these are concerns that I've been addressing since like week 2 of the preseason, but it's just kind of like it's come to fruition. And honestly, we just got to start putting this shit out there as like, just we're not fucking dopes. We kind of know what we're talking about. Starting from Flus, I don't think this guy's a professional NFL head coach by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. He's a nice guy who's nice to his players, and he's a player's coach. There is next to zero accountability in that. And you can be a nice guy and a nice head coach and be accountable. Lovie Smith did it. Tony Dungy did it. Rod Marinelli did it. Rod Marinelli also went 0-16, and Tony Dungy got fired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and John Gruden won a Super Bowl the very next year. Lovie Smith went 10-6 and got fired and ended up coaching the first pick Houston Texans, second pick Houston Texans. Like, these guys are nice people and they're good people. Does not necessarily mean that with the right group of people, they're going to be good head coaches. And at the end of the day, accountability in the NFL is everything, because these are grown fucking men with families and jobs to do. And when you're fucking nice and you only hold, and at this point, the only thing Eberflus has held accountable is the players and nothing else. He has never held himself accountable. He's never held his offensive coordinators accountable, never held his defensive coordinators accountable. It's always just passing the buck and just, hey, these are the way the things go. And sometimes you just got to say, you know what, we fucked up and we're going to fix it. And that, I think that's where it starts and ends with the coaching side of it. I think there's a lot more systematic issues going on with the Chicago Bears. And I've told you from the beginning, and you've convinced me otherwise many times, that sometimes ownership doesn't have to change just to change a team. But my belief before you've convinced me, is that it starts from the McCaskies and goes down. And there's a weird sense of lack of accountability and lack of ownership, and lack ownership in the sense of I own my fuck ups. And that starts from the McCaskies down. And we can continue to go on. I think Shane Waldron's a fucking fraud. I don't think this defense – I think this defense is going to be exhausted and frustrated by week 6, week 8. I think you'll see some stuff from the offense that you might like. But like you said, the key word, and every time you talk about a different subject, and I'm talking about the fans that you're talking about who predict 12 and 13 wins, the coaching staff, the ownership, fucking arrogance. The word is arrogance. To be so fucking smug, to walk around like you've already penciled in 12 fucking wins, and you're this charter franchise, and you have this accountability. The fucking arrogance of these people is making me sick to my stomach, because if me and you know anything, is we bust each other's balls and we call each other out all the time. And when you're wrong, you're wrong. And when you're right, you get to say you're right. But the fucking lack of accountability and the arrogance of these fucking people is making me sick to my stomach at this point. Because then you read between the lines of these people who are being polite, like Tevin Jenkins, like DJ Moore, like whoever else, and they're just like, hey, we're just playing the plays that are being called, and this and that, and whatever, and it is what it is. Really, what you're reading between the lines is like, fuck that guy, and fuck that guy, and fuck that guy, but I'm gonna sit here in an interview and eat all the shit. Fuck you. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. That's how I feel.
The Chase Claypool situation all over again. Like, especially when it comes to Nate Davis specifically, in my opinion. Nate Davis, the only time I'd let him play another snap in a Bears uniform is literally if he's the last healthy guard I have. I would give just about anybody else a shot there at this point based off what I'm seeing. I mean, you guys got to understand, you put this in a
Bill Murray.
perspective.
Fucking put Bill Murray in there.
Got to put this in a perspective. Typically, you get 8 to 10 offensive drives a game. Okay? On a second down, to let pressure through and sack your quarterback for 5, 6, 7 yards is a drive killer. Okay? It's one play, and it just gets shown as this one 10-second mess up that you can dissect and maybe explain what he's doing and this and that. You don't understand. That's 10% of your drives shot in the foot. Okay? You do that 2-3 times in the game, you've ruined like a third of the chances single-handedly. And that's why these mistakes are critical. And the word unacceptable needs to be like double underlined. And then you need to hold the guys accountable for their mistakes. I mean, it is just, it's a nightmare to sit there and just try and kick this dead horse, hoping it's just going to jump back up and start running around everywhere, right? Man, so I can't deal with the Nate Davis thing. I really can't. I don't care who you have in there. You need to figure that out. Another thing is Tevin Jenkins played his worst game of the year last year in the very last season when he got moved to left guard. Okay? Because you got Nate Davis, and he's a right guard, you've now permanently moved Tevin Jenkins to the left guard, where he hasn't had a good game really yet. If at all you knew what you need at least half that line to be okay. I would definitely have Tevin Jenkins next to Darnell Wright. Period. I don't care.
Period. Point blank. Dude, like, again, arrogance. Arrogance comes to mind. Like the word arrogance, Paulie. And like I appreciate, like, feel free to bounce back on this, but like the arrogance of thinking that you know better. That Tevin Jenkins has moved 3 positions in 4 years at this point. And you're just like, yeah, we got this. We know exactly how to use him and where to use him. And, you know, fuck his contract and fuck where he's good. And who cares where he can play well. Like, but we know better because we got Nate Davis and Coleman Shelton. And you know what? Ryan Bates. Let's throw Ryan Bates in there because I failed on getting him like a year ago. So let's spend a pick that's almost the same as getting for Keenan Allen. You spent almost as much draft capital trading for Ryan Bates as you did for Keenan Allen, a bona fide Hall of Famer. It's an absolute, and here's the thing too, and I want to preface this for anybody who's watching because it's 9 people and that's more than we usually get. This was not a travesty of a result. Okay? We said this. The numbers aren't really that interesting. Caleb played a pretty good game. We're 1-1. But the eye test is going to tell you much more than you want to predict this year. Anybody who's not watching every minute of every game like we do, and we overreact and watch every little detail, we're watching so many details at this point that we're watching those things and reacting to those things much more than we're reacting to 1-1. Because realistically, you should be 0-2. And there are very few 0-2 teams in this league right now. And most of them are absolute jokes and dumpster fires. And for a team that some people want to actually thigh and smile, I'm sorry, dude. What do you mean, dude? Like,
just finish your
Ryan,
point.
Ryan, sorry. Like, we're reacting much more to to the eye test than 1-1. That it is an absolute. I put you in the right now. From what I've seen in the NFL, and I've watched almost every single game, both weeks, you're in the bottom 5 of teams. You are. You're bottom 5 to bottom 7. You're in there with Carolina, Atlanta. You're in there with the New York Giants. These really badly organized run franchise. Sorry, to address that comment. The starting center, Mitch Morse, from Buffalo, was released 2 days after the Bears traded for Ryan Bates. They knew Ryan Poles' obsession with Ryan Bates. They knew he wanted him. They got what they could for him as a fifth. Then they released Pro Bowler Mitch Morse 2 days later, and Mitch Morse signed as a completely free agent 2 days later because the Buffalo Bills were in contract hell. Ryan Bates has never, ever played an entire full season. So to say that he was cap casualty, Ryan Bates was a cap casualty. Mitch Morse was a cap casualty. Jordan Poyer was a cap casualty. Half of the Buffalo Bills were a cap casualty. The Buffalo Bills were going.
Ryan, here's what I'm talking about. Like, that's great that you have this idea. What do you have to back it? At what point has Ryan Bates shown you anything towards him being the savior? Just got to let him get healthy. It's the same old thing. We just need more time. You just need to let this thing gel. We just need consistency and this and that. And it's you're 10 and
if
25.
Ryan Bates was the savior, he'd be on Buffalo.
You're 10 and there.
If Ryan Bates was this good, he'd still be with Buffalo because he's a $3.8 million contract.
You're 10 and 25 as a head coach, okay? And when you look through the history of this league, there aren't many coaches that start 10 and 25 that wind up being good coaches, okay? So the idea that this thing's going to magically turn around at some point, one is just historically that doesn't give you any kind of backing to think it will. I have been one to not criticize Ryan Poles much, if at all. I've liked Ryan Poles and the moves he's made, and so it's hard for me to sit there and like those moves all along the way and then kind of turn on him. Ultimately, though, I think the one thing that's really going to hurt him is the fact that he just stood there and backed Matt Eberflus with no question during this last offseason. I mean, with no question, as if there aren't better coaches out there. And you had to replace your offensive and defensive coordinator. We don't have an identity as an offense in week 2. You're sitting there, and I think Ryan Poles did a good job at getting talent together. You don't have the right guys in place to use that talent in any correct way. And let's read this comment here. It's funny how
real quick. Can I do this one first because they're in order. I agree. We're not necessarily in the group with Carolina. Carolina's its own separate thing. I don't think in modern NFL terms a team can go 0-17 anymore, right? Because there's just so much similarity. Like the Carolina Panthers won 3 games last year.
They will match up well against somebody.
It's next to impossible to go 0-17. This is a team that is capable of going 0-17. So I agree with it. We're not in the Carolina, but we're in that bottom group. We're in that like incompetently run franchise like New York, like Washington, like Atlanta. Name another 0-2 franchise team that's just kind of like the typical 0-2, right? Because this is what you expect out of the Bears. The Rams going 0-2 is a shocker.
The Ravens
going 0-2 is shocking. It's not shocking if the Bears had gone 0-2. If Atlanta gets beaten by Philly today and they're 0-2, you almost expect Denver, right? Denver going 0-2. We're in that group, guys. As much as you don't want to, we should be 0-2. It took a fucking miracle and Will Levis to go 1-1.
It's funny how, as a former O-lineman himself, Poles is great at evaluating talent at every position on the field except for the ones on the O-line. And so this is where I start to kind of take a step back a little bit because I'm not so convinced that he is great at evaluating talent at every position. Now, I do think he's put talent on this team, and I think the team is more talented, and I think the coaching is what's failing you right now. I want to make that clear. However, at the end of the day, when you go back and you look, you do have some mistakes here. I mean,
I have 3 pages of notes on Ryan Poles' career right now.
Yeah, David, you've been a little bit more critical about him than me. So I think if we're going to go into that topic a little bit, I think you might have better insight than I do on criticism. This is a reaction after
science loss. No,
No. Sorry. We expected the loss.
That's the
thing.
is not what this is about. What this is about, and I'm going to speak for myself here, is it is not that you're 0-2 or 1-1 or losing to 0-2. The Ravens are not freaking out. The Bengals are not freaking out because there are things there that result in wins that are infrastructural, that are a basis of skill, of competency. What we're talking about is you went 1-1, losing to a Super Bowl favorite, and none of the problems that have come up in the first 2 weeks are fixable mid-season, much less after 2 games. So we're looking forward to 15 games. This isn't like you need a little bit of pass rush, so you go trade for Trey Hendrickson. You need an offensive weapon, so you go get a receiver at the trade deadline for a bad team. This isn't like, okay, we need like a linebacker because we can't cover the middle. This is you have zero depth at interior offensive line, and it's been a problem for 3 fucking years. You have had bad coaching for 3 fucking years. You've completely ignored it, and it's rearing its ugly head again. And this is, I love The Simpsons, and Paulie, I've said this to you a million times. It's we've done nothing, and we're all out of ideas. They have done absolutely zero to address major, catastrophic, team-breaking issues. And then they act surprised when it's not working. That's why we're fucking pissed, dude.
David,
we're 1-1.
I got one more thing for you, and then I'm going to let you talk about Ryan Poles a little bit. And, you know, the one thing, and I said this to you earlier a little bit, we are hoping here a lot. We're hoping this gets better. We're hoping the quarterback plays better. We're hoping to get some wins. We're hoping that Shane Waldron's going to somehow be some leader for this team and be this great offensive genius. But a lot of teams have more confidence than just hope. The only thing I'm confident about is I've seen this before. I've seen it multiple times. This is how you ruin a quarterback. That's what I'm confident about. I'm confident that we're in the process right now of at a very, very, very early point in Caleb Williams' career, just straight up stunting him right away. And man, the best way to do that is to let him go out there and just get his head bashed in. I mean, that's what I'm confident about. Everything else is hope. When you look at the good teams in the league, they're not hoping. The Kansas City Chiefs aren't hoping. They know they're damn good. That's why when they face a team like us, they 45-10. That's what happens. Okay, I'm hoping we can beat the Carolina Panthers when we face them. That's where I'm at with this roster, and a lot of this needs to improve greatly for it to even be a mediocre season. And if not, then this is once again a lame duck year where for some reason we held on to the coaches for too long. And we're going to do this merry-go-round where we draft a quarterback and 1 year later we replace a coach. And I'm sick and fucking tired of that. And I didn't want to do it again. That's why part of me really wanted it to just all happen this offseason. Just get the new quarterback, get the new coaching staff. And I bring up Jim Harbaugh. Like I said, I know people have mixed feelings about him. Could you imagine the energy right now? Could you imagine what this team would be like if they had that guy as a coach with some real staff in here? I don't know, man. It'd be way different than what we got going on now with a lot of hope. So, David,
finish up the point is like, and you know, I don't know if Thigh and Smize, I think you're asking good questions to bring up a point. Maybe not so much that you necessarily agree with what you're saying, and like to get us just kind of like talk about it. And I love it. I love the interaction, and you're helping us drive the show, and I appreciate it. And thank you for your questions, and it's all great. The problem with is this reaction appropriate? How does it get better? That's my question to, is this reaction appropriate?
I love
what is your reaction to get better?
I love that I'm being told I'm overreacting. Because then when I hear 11-12 wins projected, people don't understand overreacting is not just negative. I look at those people like, you're overreacting.
Yeah.
You're way too positive.
Again, back to that word, arrogance. The arrogance to say that you have penciled in 12 wins. And I remember talking to you, Paulie, and you're like, oh, well, if we get like Micah Parsons, for example, like what do you become? I'm like, you become an 11-12 win team. Well, that's not good enough. 12 wins in this league, you are a top 5 team in this league every year, 12 wins, penciled in. You're a powerhouse.
Yeah,
12
look,
wins,
David,
you're a powerhouse in that category.
There's Micah Parsons wouldn't help this.
No, it wouldn't. And no trade would. Trey Hendrickson doesn't matter. Cam Jordan doesn't matter. Micah Parsons doesn't matter. None of this matters. No team is getting rid of good offensive linemen because they're fucking hard to come by. My point is like, how does this get better? And even if Thine Smythe said it as Ryan Bates is the savior as a joke, even in jest, dude, people have lost their starting or like centers, starting left tackles, and they go like, oh, they're out for 6 to 8 weeks and they're coming back. That's your actual savior. You're talking about a 5th round trade that probably should have just been a straight up free agent cut and signing.
20 snaps last year. 20 snaps for Ryan Bates
and,
last year.
And couldn't even finish the season in Buffalo as a backup. And that's your savior? It's in terms of savior, it's a guy that's going to get Coleman Shelton off the field. He's saving Coleman Shelton. That's all he's saving. That's the only thing he's saving. You could have had Connor Williams 2 weeks ago for money, a former Pro Bowler in Miami.
And you could have had as much criticism as I had on him. Oh my God, would that be so much better than what we have, David?
And again, it gives you flexibility. Then I actually would tolerate a conversation with Ryan Bates being at right guard and Tevin Jenkins at left guard and Nate Davis being the fucking swing guard, whoever gets hurt, whatever. But the arrogance to be like, we don't need Connor Williams. You went through training camp and watched Hard Knocks and your fucking starting center was Coleman Shelton and you were like, this is fine. The fucking arrogance, the disgusting scent of arrogance of these motherfuckers. It just makes me sick to my stomach. And to say like Ryan Bates when he comes back after IR, you're so fucking arrogant that you started him for 20 snaps in week 1 for no reason, none, 0, and you got him hurt more, and now you're waiting for your savior to return in week 6. Arrogant, just so
yeah. I think Thai was pulling your chain on that one, and he. I agree,
good,
man.
And he got me
look
good.
At you go.
Dude,
look at you go. Good job, Ty.
Yeah, dude.
I like it.
You know, I don't do this.
Off.
So
yeah.
I was entertaining this with you week 2 of the preseason, and I started entertaining the idea with you where I said, "Are we sure that Ryan Poles is that good?" And you, how did you react?
I back off of it because I like him, but when you lay it out there on paper, I can't disagree with the points you make because they're true.
So the way this started,
is the truth.
And I have this. So the accountability is one thing, okay? And I think accountability starts really, really high, and it starts at Ryan Poles holding on to Chase Claypool for way too long, for actually having Velus Jones Jr. still on this fucking roster. Him being employed on a 53-man roster.
Could have had an extra lineman.
Is unacceptable. Okay. And
your clear holes are center, guard, defensive line, but you're going to get a wide receiver number 3, David.
No, wide receiver number 6, running back number 4.
No, I'm just saying you're going to
kick returner number 1.
You know what you need. And
so this is where I started this thought experiment with you, okay? And I'm just going to kind of like speed through it just because I don't want to bore anybody. I asked you, can you name me the top 3 to 4 offensive players on the Chicago Bears and the top 3 defensive players on the Bears as they currently stand? Right? On offense, you clearly have it's DJ Moore, it's probably Keenan Allen. It might be DeAndre Swift in terms of like pure skill players. Some might argue Darnell Wright. I disagree, right? Whatever. Cole Kmet, right? So skill players on offense. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. None of them drafted by Ryan Poles. The closest thing to it is that Cole Kmet got re-signed. DJ Moore was in a trade. Keenan Allen a trade. DeAndre Swift's a free agency signing. Cole Kmet a holdover from the Ryan Pace era. You talk about the 3 to 4 best defensive players on this team, and it's not even close. It's Montez Sweat. It's Jalen Johnson. It's TJ Edwards. I'm sorry. Yeah, TJ Edwards and Terrell Edmonds, right?
Tremaine. You always get
Tremaine Edmonds. He has a brother. His name is Terrell. He's literally a linebacker, whatever.
He's not on our team.
All 4 players not drafted by Ryan Poles. The closest thing is Jalen Johnson. He's a 1-year holdover, and he was re-signed by Ryan Poles reluctantly. Everybody else is a free agent or a trade for. Okay. And I was arguing with Paulie that Micah Parsons might be a pretty good investment in this team, right? And Paulie's not in favor of it, and neither am I. I'm not in favor of it. But my argument was that maybe draft picks in Ryan Poles' hands are not the best case scenario, because draft picks in Ryan Poles' hands are better used as trade bait. I think that's just what he's represented as a general manager. So we can start at the top if you want. I have notes. I have 3 pages of notes. So I have the 2022 draft, okay? And we're going to go through these players. And say what you want about how long it takes for players to develop. Really, really good players take 1 to 2 years. Really mediocre players take maybe 3 to really show their stripes, right?
For me, it's positions. I give different positions different time. But 3 years. But
fair
enough. About any position, 3 years.
Gets 3 years. So 2022 is Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. Okay. Both of those guys, jury's still out. I would debate that they're maybe deserving of a second contract on this team, but it's a very, very mid-level contract, and it's not top level. And it's one of those contracts you sign that, like, hey, you like it here, you want to stay here. It's got to be super team friendly, and you can stay. There's neither of these guys have shown anything that shows them as a Pro Bowler, anywhere near it. They're mediocre at best, correct?
With still room and time for some improvement. Yes.
Not really, because it's 2022, so they need to re-sign their contracts as of next year.
Okay.
So their contracts expire next year.
I would say I'm more favorable about Kyler Gordon than I am Jaquan Brisker.
And that's fucked up, because I would say the opposite, and neither of us is wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Continue.
Velus Jones Jr.
Christ.
Okay. His best draft pick of that draft, would you care to take a guess?
Braxton Jones.
Braxton Jones by a fucking country mile. I would argue his
Johnson
second
was part of that?
Nope. I would argue his second best draft pick of that draft, 2022, is Jalen Jones.
Yes. And then
Jalen Jones in the 6th or 7th
was
round.
The defensive end drafted in that
Dominique
draft?
Robinson was 5th round. Treston Ebner, Doug Kramer, Jatiri Carter, and Trenton Gill.
Okay. And then we also made like 6 waiver wire moves that year. And then also just listen, like I said, we're going to go back and forth, because if anything, I'm on the one side and you're on the other. Also, we started off, I believe, with 6 picks and wound up with like 10.
Sure.
So
and those are your 10
need of an overhaul, but you're right. But what you're saying is correct.
And here's where I'm gonna backpedal a little bit, and I'll give him credit, and I'm not gonna get too shitty about 2022. I went through and looked for picks after our picks. There's really 2022 was a post-COVID, really shitty draft. A lot of shitty players.
That's a good point.
But just a point like to be made, like starting guards like Cam Jurgens after Velus Jones Jr. So you could have had this. Players like Abraham Lucas, starting right tackle of the Seattle Seahawks. Isaiah Likely was drafted in the 4th round. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So just little things, players of need, but you just chose to ignore them and got Velus Jones Jr. Just a thought, okay? Just to entertain. Okay. Here's number 23 draft, okay? And the jury's still out. Darnell Wright, Jervon Dexter, Zach Pickens, Tyreek Stevenson, Roshan Johnson, Tyler Scott, Noah Sewell, Smith, I wrote down, and Travis Bell. Oh, it's Terrell Smith. Terrell Smith. Yeah, Terrell Smith. Terrell Smith. As of right now, not a terrible draft. Okay.
No. But
Darnell
still,
Wright,
like you said, you still need time to pan this one out.
A lot of time. Zach Pickens, I think we can agree, is just pretty much a bust.
He's just non-existent.
He's not relevant. He's not existent. Jervon Dexter's pretty good. Tyreek, through 2 weeks, has been pretty bad.
Stevenson?
Tyreek has been very bad. He's one of the worst graded PFF corners in the league.
Understood. He did.
The entire game plan against Houston was to pick on Tyreek, and it worked.
Okay.
Okay, just throwing it out there. I love Tyreek. Love him.
I like him.
I love him.
He's not a perfect player by any means.
Not
He's
by
still
any means.
young. However, a 4 interception rookie season, open up your
Roshan
second
Johnson.
season. There's some upside to Tyreek.
Roshan Johnson is
Got punched in the face. He got punched in the face yesterday.
yeah, sure. Tyler Scott was an active, healthy scratch week 1 over Velus Jones. Okay. Noah Sewell hasn't been healthy or played a game. Terrell Smith has probably been second best rookie from this class in terms of proving it on the field. And then
Javon Dexter, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson. I would give them all more of an upside than Terrell Smith.
Sure. Okay. And then Travis Bell. I wrote down and I started going through the 2023 draft picks that were taken after these guys, and the list is astonishing. It got worse and worse and worse and worse as I went.
Real quick, you can do this every year with just about any team, though.
Sure.
But this is recent, and we're in it. So it's like, yeah.
No. I got specific.
Okay.
This is not just like a bunch of Pro Bowlers I just fucking threw out that every team skipped.
All right.
So I went for positions of need, offensive center or offensive guard, exclusively. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players that are starting linemen in the NFL that you could have had for next to nothing. So this is between Darnell Wright and Jervon Dexter, who's your very next pick. The only reason I throw that out there is because you chose to draft Darnell Wright. You only traded back one pick. Or I'm sorry, you traded back from 1 to 9, then 9 to 10.
Yeah.
9 to 10, whatever. You could have gotten these guys at 17, fucking 33, whatever. You didn't have a second round pick until later in the second, so whatever. I'm just throwing it out there. You could have traded up, you could have whatever. Joe Tippmann drafted 43rd, starting off offensive guard. Matt Bergeron, starting offensive guard, drafted at 38. Keon White, starting center, drafted 39. Cody Mauch, drafted 47th, starting offensive guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've gone through 4 starting interior offensive linemen between 38 and 47 at this point. And that is a draft pick that you didn't have, but you probably could have gotten. A pick after, every pick is after Zach Pickens naming these starting centers and starting guards. Exclusively. Only starters. John Michael Schmitz, Juice Scruggs, Tyler Steen, Byron Young was a defensive tackle taken. So I'm swapping those as if like you could have drafted a defensive tackle later and taken an offensive guard or center earlier. Anthony Bradford and DeJuan Jones in the 5th. I got to the 5th round before I gave up. With starting offensive linemen taken in last year's draft only. We got to 10. And the arrogance, yet again, I throw that word, arrogance, that you didn't need one of these guys is fucking absurd.
It's just astonishing to me because it's like clearly center has been not only one of your biggest needs on this team, obviously, for the last 2 years. I mean, we all saw Sam Mustipher. We all saw Lucas Patrick out there. We all saw the result of that. And, people, I see this going around too. Oh, should have kept Fields. No, you shouldn't have. Fields ran out of time. You're going to have to pay the guy to get the same production. No matter what the reason is, at the end of the day, he ran out of time. And it is due to things like having a crappy center there, snapping you the ball, having to catch it all the way up here before you can even react to the play and all that stuff. So clearly it's like one of your biggest needs. Now, from a team building perspective, like, why would you want to just try and like Band-Aid that? Why would you not want to like clearly address and improve on it and like, at least get that thing from a grade F to like a grade C? Like, that's a huge improvement to just become average at the position. Instead, you just Band-Aid it. Coleman
Not only that,
cheap, familiar with the system. We're going to outsmart them, remember?
And just to comment on Ant Mass, because
Yeah.
I love Ant Mass and he's always a fan. And
Dude,
God bless.
I like your Olin take, David.
And my problem with Olin Kreutz is, and this is going to be into the next coaching cycle, which to break everyone's little bubble is inevitable. Inevitable.
It's going to happen. It is.
Don't start. I don't want to hear a single person telling
We're
me
not
about how
going to be
Eberflus
4-1 in 3 weeks. We're not.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Happen.
Eberflus is keeping his job and fucking like whatever. Okay. Olin Kreutz is one of those crazy motherfuckers that'll tell you how it is. And he's going on Twitter and he's going on these social media situations and he's telling you about what's wrong with your team and what you need to do. And it's all accountability. And Olin Kreutz would be if it was my franchise, I would fire Chris Morgan last night and I would hire Olin Kreutz this morning. And yet again, the lack of accountability and the arrogance of the McCaskey family, because there was that one story that Olin Kreutz had a problem with George McCaskey and he grabbed him by the throat and pinned him up against the wall, is why Olin Kreutz is not.
He didn't do it to George. He did it to the guy who brought the story up, right?
I'm not 100% sure, but there was that.
He was on a podcast, and whoever had the conversation with him, he took the
No. There was a whole thing where Olin wanted to invite his family or something, and there was no tickets or something, and he told George to go fuck himself or something like that, right?
Well,
and George's weaselly little ass was just like, George, you can't talk to me like that, I think. The whole time he's staring at the ground, I guarantee it. Olin, you can't talk to me like that. I don't know what you're talking about, Olin. You got to be nice to me. I own you.
Oh, my God.
And
I own you.
Olin, and Olin will never be retired. His number will never be retired. He's not part of that group of Bears that's invited back into the building because he kept it fucking real. And that's what you need right now. You need a guy to just walk in there and be like, you guys are playing like a fucking bunch of assholes. And he will never be allowed. And Olin is not the problem. Olin, he's crazy, but it's what you need right now. And he'll never be allowed back in there because there's just no accountability and there's no.
There. He's on Twitter discussing what the Bears are doing wrong offensively, and he's like, I'll find the exact thing on Twitter.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, my. Okay, that's fair.
That's what it was. Yes, he's
so
right.
he fought Hogue.
Right. I heard that.
And then Olin was offered a $15 an hour job from the McCaskies.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, I got mixed up. I combined the two stories.
You did. That's why I said. I thought he fought a radio host.
Yeah. On CHGO.
I is right on with that. Correct.
Yes.
And so he kind of snapped, but he did also specify that that they did offer him a $15 an hour job.
Yeah.
After he retired from them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right? So unbelievable. No, thank you, Ty. That's good clarification right there. But that's find that Twitter post from.
That's what I would do if it was in my mind, because Chris Morgan got, not only has he produced absolutely nothing from the offensive line for 2 fucking years, then he turned into the running game coordinator that took a significant shit this early season. The running game that was not a problem for 2 to 3 years with Justin Fields there has now taken a massive shit since Chris Morgan got promoted to running game coordinator. Now you're empowering and not holding accountable shitty people in your building that are bad at their job. And that's kind of what this whole point of this episode is just ranting about the lack of accountability and promoting the shitty work ethic and shitty jobs that these people are doing.
Here's what he said exactly yesterday. He said, stop running outside left. These tackles are laid off the ball with the silent count. And then Kyle Long commented on it. And he goes, yeah, pre-snap, they're not even looking at their matchups. Yeah. Dude, these are 2 guys that were linemen. They're literally telling you what the coaching issue here is on the offensive line from their couches, just because they know what they're talking about, because they were linemen. So clearly something's off here. And when you go from Sam Mustipher and he leaves and he does fine on the Ravens, Lucas Patrick and he leaves, he was graded the highest center this week. I mean, they were train wrecks here. And now you get the next guy in, Coleman Shelton, and he's a train wreck. Clearly, there's something going on beyond just the player themselves.
Yeah.
This isn't working.
Dude, and so finishing my Ryan Poles point, and this is awkward at this point, but like I'm gonna give you a grade of like trades he's done.
Real quick.
Paulie, don't go too hard on this.
Good for you, man. Go find something you enjoy. This is what we're gonna do. So
yeah. See ya. Bye. The coup de grace, one of the greatest trades ever made in NFL history and maybe in sports history, is with the worst run franchise in NFL history, is the current Carolina Panthers. Congratulations. You pulled their pants down and you got a good first round pick. Awesome. Let's move on. Trade. Let's move on. What else have you done? Because at the end of the day, the Ricky Williams trade with the Washington Redskins at the time ended up with absolutely fucking nothing. And Mike Ditka traded his entire draft pick, his entire draft pool for Ricky Williams at like pick number 4.
I got to give Richie credit. I had a conversation with him on the phone once, and he said, listen, man, the Halls don't always win out those trades.
The Washington
or the Cleveland Browns. Bryce Young sucks, but I get what he was saying. I do.
Dude, the Cleveland Browns got a shitload for Julio Jones.
Oh, my God. Dude, the Cleveland Browns?
The Cleveland Browns are the pick that the Texans, Falcons traded for.
Oh.
For Julio Jones. They did absolutely nothing with it.
What did the Texans get for Deshaun?
The Texans have done everything with it because they have a good fucking GM named Nick Caserio, the fucking former New England Patriots assistant GM. And Nick Caserio is a fucking genius, and he went to the Texans. And you can follow the trajectory of the Texans since Nick Caserio joined, and it's just a fucking straight fucking line up.
Guys, yeah, for people that just want this to take more time, it does not take this long. We're now in year 3 here.
The moment Nick Caserio took over in like November of 2021, he made the trade for Deshaun in like February of 2022, and it's only been uphill since then. It's exclusively uphill for the Texans. 2022 is when Nick Caserio really took over, and his first major move was trading Deshaun Watson. And the Texans have only been up. Besides the point. So yes. Ryan Poles made an incredible trade. I think the Texans would have made that trade, the Panthers would have made that trade with any fucking moron that had the first overall pick, and they were desperate and stupid enough because David Tepper asked his girlfriend, would you trade for the first overall pick? Hell yeah, I would. And they got it. Okay?
David, it's funny. Carl Thiensmy, you'll know what I'm talking about. So this is kind of for you a little bit. I was listening to this one podcast, and guys going off like, I'm in Chicago for the time being, and it's so toxic. Just listening to the radio, even listening to just ESPN 1000 for an hour a day, and these guys shitting on the team, which they're not. They want the best for the team. They're just telling you what they're seeing and what the issues are. They're just laying it out there. No one's shitting on the team. But he's like, it's so toxic. Dude, David, me and you live here. I was at the DMV sitting next to a guy. I saw he had a Bears hat on. 30-minute Bears conversation. It's unavoidable. Okay? I go to the damn games. Man, this is why we're critical. Because we damn care. It's not pretty. It's not. And so that's how you wind up with a 12-win prediction. Because you think everything's sunshine and flowers. It's not. There's tons of issues. I'm sorry, David.
No. And I'm just like, I have one more page to go through, but like, I wrote down the major trades, right? There's draft day trades and there's moves up and move downs in the draft and whatever. Here's the rest of Ryan Poles' draft or I'm sorry, trades other than the Bryce Young trade, which will go down in history. Great. In a few years, it might not be that bad. Chase Claypool, second round pick. Obvious F. Great on that one. N'Keal Harry for a seventh. Kind of irrelevant. You may as well take a flyer on a seventh round wide receiver. Whatever. Roquan, you got a second and a fifth back. That ended up being like Gervon Dexter and I forget. You got rid of Robert Quinn for a fourth, which I don't think many people would argue with after the fact. And that turned into Tyler Scott. But if you were trading Robert Quinn for Tyler Scott straight up, maybe not so great.
6 games, Robert Quinn, but okay.
Sure. Khalil Mack traded for a second that turned into Jaquan Brisker. I might prefer Khalil Herbert the last 4 years.
Contracts play huge roles into these two.
Sure. I'm just kind of like saying these, and I didn't write them all down, dude. There was he's made so many moves, and I get it. Roquan was good, and I agree. Sorry, is it Kevin?
It's Carl.
Carl, I agree.
Carl.
I don't know if Edmonds is better, but he's close, and Roquan is not making a difference in Baltimore. So I'm with you there. Dan Feeney. Do you remember Dan Feeney?
I do.
Yeah, no one remembers Dan Feeney. You're a fucking liar.
I know.
6th round pick.
Center.
6th round pick. Not even on the team. Didn't even compete in training camp. Montez for a second, and then Ryan Bates for a fifth.
Can I go back to something real quick with
Sure.
Carl here? It's this comment. It's this comment that I look at that gets to me. And you know why it gets to me? Because it actually says everything. A Super Bowl favorite in their stadium is wild. Go back 1 year, and the Bears and the Texans were right here.
Yeah.
1 year.
Not even. I would say the Bears were significantly up on the Texans.
1 year. 1 year ago. And now we have a close loss to a Super Bowl favorite, and we're sitting here going, we need more time. We need more time, though, right? We need some more time. David, sorry, you're glitching.
You don't need shit.
Okay, you good? Yeah.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
To load up.
You good?
Am I all right?
Kind of. I don't know. You may want to.
Am I all right?
You are not lagging anymore, but you may want to quit and rejoin, though. Your video's all choppy. But
okay.
Listen, Stroud.
Okay.
Yeah. Quit and rejoin real quick. Texans have a full year of Stroud. Let's talk after a full year of Williams. I hear you, but Stroud did start 0-2. Stroud also had some games where he threw for under 100 yards. He also had a game where he threw for 500 yards. I'm not saying Caleb's the problem here. What I'm saying is that it's just clear, repetitive incompetence. And in my opinion, a coaching staff change could really, really impact this thing a lot in a positive way. And I truly think we're just going to look back at this and think, like, why did we hold on to Matt Eberflus? And then I think, well, why was Ryan Poles so adamant about
what a wasted year.
Yeah. Again, so yeah.
Stroud did start 0-2, man. But like no one knew who Tank Dell was or Nico Collins was. So you can't go into that situation saying that you expected the Texans to be good. Dude, Texans were hoping to not get the next top 5 pick at the beginning of last year. Not to have 2 top 5 picks in a row. People are coming out here predicting 12 wins. The arrogance.
Yeah, I mean,
arrogance.
When we ran through the schedule, the first time I came up with 10 wins. And immediately I was like, no. That was too easy. too easy to count to 10. Let me go back and look at this again because that's not what the NFL is. It's not too easy. It's damn fucking hard. And we've seen this because we've gotten smacked in the jaw 2 weeks in a row now, regardless of the record. I'm telling you, this is what's the long run here? Like, okay, Carl. If we make the playoffs, like we're getting bounced. Like if magically we do it, this is not the guys that are going to take you where you need to go. That's evident. It's so clear. And just from my experiences, the sooner you make that right, the better. I heard take those names here. Hold on, 16 times every offseason. I remember seeing mocked in the first by NFL Draft Junkies. Dude, like we said, the Texans a year ago were one of the worst teams in the league. Period.
You can't say that
That
you
was the
heard
narrative.
all this hype about their players, but simultaneously say that the Texans started 0-2. It's just you're contradicting yourself within your own thing.
Maybe you did.
You heard about their studs all year, but you heard about their studs all year, but then they started 0-2, so they ended up fine. I'm sorry, you're just not lining up with what you're saying.
And fantasy football and real football are just two different things. You can have a guy that goes out there and puts up numbers. Listen, DJ Moore will be fine. DJ Moore will be okay. He's always been all right.
Yeah.
Somebody asked for fantasy advice earlier, and I'm not into fantasy, but if anything, DJ Moore's shown you years of consistency as far as like numbers and stats go.
Dude,
cool.
they just
hold on.
Dude,
Carl, you got time to come on with us, man. I'll send you a link, dude.
Yeah, dude, you can just come on. Texans are playing in the worst division in the NFL, and Bears are playing in the best. They just played that division 2 games in a row and went 0-2 almost. They just played the Titans and the Texans and went almost 0-2. They got lucky against the Titans. What are you talking about? They haven't played an NFC North team. We might go 0-6 in the NFC North right now.
Dude, 2 teams with a backup quarterback that are both
Will Levis.
Meanwhile, the Lions are the best of them.
So you're saying they're playing in the worst division, that's why they're good, but then the Bears just played their division and they almost lost 2 games in there, so that means that they're okay? So if they were in the division, they'd still be the worst team in the division. Take out the Colts, put the Bears in, and they're the fucking worst team in the AFC South.
I'm telling you, we're going to struggle against every single opponent this year. If this continues. Because offensive line issues, this is why teams build a certain way. They build from the inside out, and you hear it over and over and over and over and over and over. The best way to implode an offense, guys, is an offensive line. Because even at the end of the game, on 3rd down, when you sit there and you make a miracle play, and the wide receiver makes a miracle catch, and then that little yellow flag comes flying out on the field. Offensive holding. Try that shit again 10 yards back. It deflates everything. It kills everything.
Paulie, let me finish this real quick so we can just wrap up this bullshit.
Dude, yeah.
So I went over the drafts. They're mediocre at best. Can we agree? They're a 5, 6.5 out of 10. Yes. Maybe. Okay. The trades that he uses are probably above average. He's probably the best trader in the NFL right now, Ryan Poles is. Here are his free agent signings. Tremaine Edmunds. TJ Edwards.
Terrell Edwards. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm just fucking with you.
Son of a bitch.
TJ Edwards.
PJ Walker, Travis Homer, DeMarcus Walker. I have Davis here. Who's Davis?
The guy I don't want to see the field again? Nate Davis, maybe?
Nate Davis. Yep, sorry. Al-Quadin Muhammad, Byron Pringle, and Lucas Patrick. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. His 9 biggest free agent acquisitions. That's them. You've got one for sure success with TJ Edwards. Tremaine Edmunds is a maybe. It's probably worth it, but maybe not.
He's good, yeah.
He's solid. Nate Davis, I would say DeMarcus Walker's is probably second best. DeMarcus Walker's solid, I guess. He's probably over
TJ and Tremaine. He's fine.
And then Travis Homer, PJ Walker, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Byron Pringle and Lucas Patrick.
Kevin Byard.
Jury's out. He might be
Well,
a
I mean, he
solid
did sign
stopgap.
this year. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't include anything really from this year because I don't want to be like critical of this year. We don't know how this year ends. So his free agent signings are a D- at best.
Yeah.
His draft is a C+ at best, not including this year's. And then his trades for draft picks are probably a B+. What is the obsession here?
It's better than what we've had before.
I agree.
It's the opposite approach. Instead of trading up for guys, you're getting draft capital back for guys. It's more of an ideology.
It's the way you're.
Plus,
you know what you're saying right now.
Lucky with the treasure of the
but you know what you're saying right now, and I know you're gonna. It's not what you said; it's how you said it.
It is. Damn it!
It's not what you said; it's how you said it. You were really nice about it.
I don't care what you say to me. It's not going to offend me, but depends on how you say it, because you know.
It's not what you said; it's how you got there. So
yeah,
you made me eat a shit
Your
sandwich.
mother's a really good cook, David. Okay.
Yeah. I wish your wife was as good.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's not what you said, but it's how you said it, right? Like kind of thing.
Better.
Oh yeah. Right. So like. Again, the arrogance to say we need interior offensive line help. Tragically, you haven't drafted one. You've only traded for a backup.
You drafted Darnell Wright.
Interior.
Oh, interior. My bad.
Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright are nice. They're fine. They're solid B players.
Yeah, but
neither.
Look, I mean,
and then Tevin is a holdover that you keep fucking with, and you keep fucking with his head.
Because, like, week one, we had two good interior defensive linemen going against us. Houston has more success on the edges. So what do? Run stunts. Get those edge guys.
But even then, they got more pressure than the fucking Titans. They got 7 goddamn sacks.
Because it's the blueprint. That's what we can't handle.
And you can't fix that.
That is your offensive identity, Bears fans.
You will be probably in the top 3 most sacked quarterbacks of this season. And you want to ask me about where your hope is?
If that's the case, then I would start weighing the pros and cons between, like, okay, what does Caleb get from starting?
Yeah.
And what does he get from sitting?
Oh, don't get me started on this, buddy.
because it's like, dude, like, every number 1 overall pick should go out there and start, right? And this and that. But if you're just going to send him out there
to get killed,
there's literally no point in that. Literally. And you might as well save him physically and mentally from what's just going to be a massive beatdown if that's the case. And so, I'm really interested to see how this moves forward, because like you said, it's a very unfixable problem. And if this is going to continue like this, man, I don't know if that's the right situation for this kid to go into, which is insane coming from a 7-10 team that added a number 1 overall draft pick to it. Man, we had pick 9 too.
But you have like 3 number 1 receivers, Paulie.
Dude. I wasn't the one out there getting a boner over Roma Dunze. And neither were you. And he might be great. And there were some people out there that really, 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 really were. And that's great. But instantly we said, okay, then that's a move for the future. It's not going to impact right now. What's going to impact right now? More defensive line help. What's going to impact right now? A center, a guard. Man, and I would argue that, like, the relationship between quarterback and a center is way more important than a relationship between a quarterback and a wide receiver. I think if you could pair a center with a guy for most of his career and they work well together, then it just creates a floor for the success that you're going to have. And the wide receivers, you shuffle in and out, man. They're a come and go thing over the years.
DeAndre Carter was the leading receiver yesterday.
Right.
Who the fuck gives a shit about who's catching the ball? If you're getting pressured on 82% of your dropbacks last night, which was the statistic,
insane.
Depending on who you ask, it was like 26 out of 42. It was 33 out of 38, whatever fucking statistic. It's not possible. The guy has he has the fastest release in the NFL already this season, out of necessity. And he is one of the worst statistical quarterbacks. I didn't say 86. I said 82. And that's the high one. It's like 78.
You go back to Hard Knocks and he's sitting there. And what was the quote? Yeah, practice is harder than playing. Oh, kid, you're going to walk that one back real quick. I didn't see you looking like you were looking on fucking Sunday night in practice with your head back. Man, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is a 22-year-old kid, guys. A 22-year-old kid. As a coach, you're supposed to be, it's like you're almost like the parent in this situation. You typically have fucking experience even playing. You've been through this. You know you could get chewed up and spit out. You're supposed to be the one that teaches them better. Like you said, it's almost arrogance. Like, dude, Caleb's not going to progress himself. I have very low confidence that Shane Waldron is going to be the guy that's able to groom a quarterback properly. I have even less confidence now that Matt Eberflus is going to be the head coach to do it too. I would,
and every month,
love to have my
week
mind
you
changed
waste.
somehow.
Every month and week you waste is just another waste of time.
I mean, you're in it for the year, David. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do right now? You're in it for the year.
You're not going to get one of these head coaching candidates.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you going to do? Fire Eberflus and promote Waldron? No. You're stuck.
That's why, and anybody who's giving me this, like, it'll get better throughout the season.
No.
Not one victory, and not one, is guaranteed this season. You're not penciling in anything this year.
We're looking 9-8 and best.
You're breaking your balls. You're rock fighting over 9-8. And I don't see one. And maybe I'll be wrong, and this may be hindsight later. I don't see one game where we walk in and we just win like 44-10. Not even on accident. I don't think you pull that off on accident.
Maybe, dude, you could go out there and match up against
maybe really once, well, but like maybe.
It's not. This isn't going to be a consistent.
But again, arrogance to say you're 12-5. A 12-5 team beats the shit out of some people. A 12-5 team is the Chiefs, is the Buffalo Bills, is the fucking, it's these Super Bowl contenders. It's the Eagles, it's the Lions, and again, the Lions lose to Tampa Bay. The Eagles are whatever. I get it, but to say you're 12-5, we may end up going back to this episode, and it would be the happiest I've ever been to eat my words and say I'm fucking wrong. The happiest ever. I am quite confident we will be very accurate.
Thigh and Smy, I'm going back to letting you know the statistical wins this year are not what this year's about. What this year's about is all about the eye test. You're trying to get this kid comfortable. You're trying to get him to grow and learn. Is this team talented enough to win 9 games? Yeah. At best, in my opinion. Sure. And because at the end of the day, the guys are out running out there and playing the damn game, right? But I've said this before in our previous shows. there's multiple ways to get to 9-8. I predicted the way that would make me the most happiest. So far, it's going the way that would make me the most pissed off, angry, and concerned. And man, you might pull it off just due to the talent on the team, but it's not gonna feel like you're in control. You're gonna feel lucky. And that's not what you want. You don't want to get lucky in this league. If you're building something and preaching change, then you want to actually change. Well, you want to take the NFC North and not give it back?
You're going to be the 4th team in the division this year.
Possibly. You have a really good chance at that, man. Really good chance at that. So it's rough because, like I said, we had such an opportunity to really do it different. We did. Get the new quarterback, get a new coach right in there with him. We always complain about that carousel of that lame duck year after you draft a quarterback where the head coach is just holding on for dear life. I mean, we've been through that over and over and over and over. And it's tough because it's like, man, good coaches in this league have their teams ready to go. You don't come out flat. Caleb Williams has not thrown for one touchdown yet. That's not Caleb Williams' fault. Okay? It falls on these damn coaches, man. I wish, as much as I was like I said, respectful and try to make sense of it. Hey, he's only 2 years in. They were hot at the end of the year, this and that, blah, blah, blah. No, I really wish they would have done a bigger overhaul this year and had new blood in there as a coaching staff, because this feels like it's going to pan out to be a lame duck year. Sorry, Jonathan. We don't mean to be discouraging. What we mean to be is just honest, man. Like this
realistic,
is
dude.
This is where this team is at, according to us. And we hoped for better. We predicted 9-8, hoping we were wrong. Now we might be wrong, just fucking the other way, man. We might be worse than that. And that's just what you see out of the first 2 weeks from the Chicago Bears offense. The defense is a different story, but the offense is a fucking train wreck. It is. And, man, I mean, you're going to have to really carry this team through special teams and defense if you want
fundamental shit, guys.
I thought we were done with this kind of football, guys.
We're really not trying to be fucking disheartening, but it's shit that you can't fix. It's shit that is implemented over the offseason, over coaching, over like Jim Harbaugh went into San Diego and they just decided that they're going to rush for over 400 yards in 2 weeks. And guess what the fuck they did? They rushed for 400 yards in 2 weeks. Come hell or high water, you're going to fucking do it. And whether or not it's long-term successful, there's a foundation there. There's an identity there. I feel good for Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert's the quarterback that can't win, and they're 2-0.
And they were fucking and like really in a convenient way. Right? So like these are things that I don't, guys, if you're telling me they're going to get better, you need to tell me how. Is the coaching going to improve? You're hoping for the best example of adjustment I've seen from this coaching staff ever in 4 years, and you guys know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, is the mini buy. Is the fucking Washington Commanders mini buy, where they just said, you know what, let's stop making Justin play like Aaron Rodgers and give him some fucking options or RPOs. It's the biggest example of coaching adjustment they've done ever in 3-4 years. You're expecting that with Caleb? What are you going to do? You're going to throw a new offensive lineman in there and just like they're just fixed? We're going to start running the ball? If they do it, great. It's the second time they'll have ever shown that ability in 3 years.
A season's all about developing.
You're going to throw in some new players here? You're going to go trade for a starting center, a starting guard? It just, that doesn't work that way.
It's going to be a rough year, guys. It's going to be a rough game against the Colts. It's going to be a rough year, especially for the people that had them really high. but those are the people that tend to have them really high every year. So I guess they'll just do what they do every year anyway.
Right. This is
But
us
we're here
justifying
to
9-8.
yeah, we're here to tell you that we're having trouble justifying 9-8 on our ends, and
It's
sucks,
8-9.
man.
It's 9-8. And
Man, it's
it's the worst place to be in the NFL.
it's already starting to feel like a lame duck season. I don't know, man. Week 3 is going to be really interesting against the Colts because now you got to change. You got to change, and like
I'm going to tell you this right now, Paulie. Colts have the worst running defense in all the NFL through 2 weeks. They've allowed over 400 yards in rushing offense through 2 weeks.
That'll be so interesting to see if we can take advantage of that.
If you can't run the fucking ball against the Colts, you think we're hot now? You think we're fucking depressed now? This is us being negative? And you can't run the ball against the fucking Colts? Man, thank God you're going to be out of the country because fuck that.
Yeah. By the way, everybody, I'm gone for 2 weeks, so this is why I had to get all this steam out right now. But I don't know. I might still time difference and everything. I'll still probably chime in. It's a disease. It's a mental illness at this point.
Yeah.
I just, man, and you do look at teams like the Texans. They turn it around, man. They turn it around. They did it. Did not take 3 years. Okay, it took.
I would love to be the Cardinals right now.
Real coach, man. Yeah.
I would love to be the Cardinals right now. Competing with Buffalo, kicking the shit out of the Rams.
Look at what the Saints are doing.
Fucking, the Saints are a dumpster fire, and they're fucking
40 points a game. 40 points a game. You haven't thrown one.
I have zero confidence.
One touchdown in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Zero confidence in making that adjustment. And this is all of a sudden by week 8, week 9, you're going to get into division games and you're a fucking offensive powerhouse. Caleb has figured it out through his 58 sacks through 10 weeks.
I listen. Come shit on us if we're wrong. Because that means we did turn around and we're doing good.
Yeah,
like I'll embrace it, and I'll let you guys fucking do it all show to me. I don't care. I'll totally take it. But that's where I stand with this team right now. It's gotten me angry. It really has. It's more than disappointed. It's just anger because I just see more of the same. More of the same, and the same is going to be average or less than average, and that's what the end of the season is going to result in. Like I said, it's going to be another year wasted, and I fucking hate that. I really do. I want this team to finally actually change, not just talk about it. So, David, any closing thoughts?
No, that was good therapy. And like for anybody who thinks we're not like fucking Bears fans and positive Bears fans, we just have a standard. And our standard at this point is like to be a Chiefs, to be a Bills, to be a Ravens, to be a fucking one of these teams that just goes into the playoffs for 5 years in a row.
I'm not going to be happy otherwise. I'm really
not. And that's my standard. And if you're telling me that this is year one of that, fucking I hope I'm wrong, but prove that shit. Because if this is year one of that process, man, I don't know if I can handle that shit. Emotional roller coaster wise.
Everybody just thinks that like a step forward is just, it's like served to you on a silver platter. There's a chance we take a step back. Nobody wanted to entertain that thought.
Yeah.
But fuck, man, it's the NFL.
I mean, again, and we haven't even talked about this yet, but the fucking you entertained it in the sense of like mentioning it, but the fucking idea that next year we have to go into a new coaching cycle and have a new coordinator and a new coach and a whole new playbook for Caleb and no more Keenan Allen and 10 new draft picks. And you want to future proof me? And people who are like, well, we have all these draft picks. So next year, you're throwing out a rookie center, rookie guard, a rookie defensive end, a rookie wide receiver, And you're
David,
like,
we just need more
problem's
time.
fixed.
No, David,
Problem's fixed. It's all fucking handled. Let's just throw 5 new rookies in there in the most relevant positions in all of football, in which veteran presence is incredibly important, and gelling and unity and fucking offensive line and being together. And let's just throw 3 new fucking rookies in the middle and it'll all be solved.
Just need more time.
And Caleb will be a fucking Hall of Famer next year. 5,000-yard season, baby. And a new offensive coordinator and a new fucking playbook.
Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Bear down. Let's hope this thing looks better, huh?
Fuck.